In 2 days from now, an event will occur which will have a tremendous importance for Israel and for all the region. On Wednesday, January 25th, Palestinians living in the territories, in the West Bank, in the Gaza Strip and in East Jerusalem will vote to elect their new parliament and their new government. In the past, such an event could perhaps have been neglected. But today, many consider that these elections' results will have very serious consequences. The question is, which party will win? Will the Fatah party keep the leadership? Or, on the contrary, will the Hamas succeed in taking over the Palestinian Authority? After the Oslo agreements and since the return of Arafat from Tunis to the territories, this movement, the Fatah, was the central political force in the Palestinian territories. But during the last 12 years, the Fatah constantly declined and lost its grip on the Palestinian population. Its influence was restricted more and more, and at the same time, the Hamas movement and the Islamic Jihad extended their influence and their power. The reasons for such an evolution are obvious. First, the appalling corruption of the Fatah leadership. The friends of Yasser Arafat, his colleagues, brought to the Palestinian territories their habits of nepotism, corruption, misusing public money. The Palestinians, who live in the territories in very, very poor conditions, have been shocked by such a situation. The leaders' bank accounts in Switzerland, stealing the money given by the US or by the European Union, etc. Instead of that, the Hamas movement seems to be a very clean and religious and even ascetic party. But also, it must be pointed out that Hamas played a central role in the Palestinian Intifada and gained much prestige in the eyes of the youth and the Palestinian militants. Fatah has tried during the last days to put obstacles on the road of Hamas. For example, it has recently chosen as his leading candidate Marwan Barghouti, a charismatic man, a charismatic leader, who is presently in an Israeli prison for life after having been arrested and condemned for his role in planning terrorist attacks. Yesterday, in an exceptional move intended to reinforce Fatah, Israel let Arab television crews interview Barghouti in his prison cell. But maybe this Israeli help will be counterproductive, and maybe also it comes too late. Anyway, if the day after tomorrow Hamas wins the leadership, such a result will have tremendous consequences, as this Islamic extremist movement does not recognize the right of Israel to exist. It seems very difficult to imagine how peace negotiations could ever resume. The US have already said that in case of a Hamas victory, they will stop immediately their financial subventions to the Palestinian Authority. In Israel, there is by these days presently a controversy on the attitude which should be adopted. For the right, no dialogue at all could exist with a terrorist organization which should be simply dismantled. For the left, the question is, could Hamas evaluate in the future in becoming a political movement which would eventually accept the right of Israel to exist as a Jewish state?